Revolution, 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 revolution.
Ramona Africa, you're in Paris. You're here for Mumia to support this campaign, but also for MOVE. Can you tell me what MOVE is? You're the Minister of Information for MOVE.
The MOVE organization is a revolutionary organization founded in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, in the United States in the early 1970s. We're very simply a revolutionary organization that speaks out on and exposes the racism and injustice in not only the U.S. system, but the worldwide system.
What is the basis of MOVE's belief, or what John Africa told you?
The foundation of MOVE's belief is life, respect for life, working in defense and protection of life.
In general.
And that is not an abstract principle. It means fighting against the exploitation of life, whether it's imprisoning, enslaving humans, abusing and exploiting animal life, poisoning the water, the air, the earth that feeds us. It means all of that. And that is what puts us in conflict with a system that has absolutely no respect for life and will poison, pollute, exploit, enslave, oppress any living thing.
I would suspect that when John Africa founded MOVE, things were not that clear to a lot of people. They have become much clearer today.
Absolutely. When the MOVE organization first surfaced, our very first demonstrations were at the zoo, at the circus, and people looked at us, particularly black people in the United States, like, the zoo, animals being, mistreated. What about us? What about people? And we're saying it's all the same thing. The mentality that causes whites to exploit and enslave blacks is the same mentality that causes people, period, to exploit animals. When you see all life as equal and understand that all life comes from one source, that is the root of not exploiting and mistreating and abusing any living thing. We were out there long before animal rights became popular or environmentalism became popular, and people looked at MOVE like we were crazy. We ate garlic long before it was popular, and people went crazy, said we stink. We were, quote unquote, composting long before it became popular, and people went crazy saying that we were nasty and dirty and throwing garbage in the backyard.
Revolution, 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 revolution.
Cops came out to MOVE headquarters in the wee hours of the morning, and this was on August 8th. And the confrontation was a bloody, vicious confrontation, not coming from MOVE, but coming from them, because they were the ones that had the tear gas, the cherry cranes, the bulldozer. They even had an armored tank down there from the armory, which was like a block or so away from MOVE headquarters. And, they planned to kill MOVE. They had M16s, sniper rifles, 22 rifles or shotguns, whatever they are. They had all kind of weaponry out there. They even had 50 caliber machine guns, I believe. I didn't find that out until after May 13th, that they had similar type weapons out there in August of 78. And they came out there to kill. And cops even testified that they emptied their magazine clips of, I don't know how many bullets they are, but 15, 30, whatever. Emptied them in corners where he heard babies crying.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
All 9 of my sisters and brothers was accused of murdering one cop with one bullet. 9 MOVE people charged, prosecuted, convicted, sentenced to 100 years each, to a total of 900 years for one cop with one bullet. Now, how do 9 people fire one bullet? It's impossible.
Revolution, 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 revolution.
They're still in prison today.
They're still in prison today, 33 years
They got
after
32
they were arrested.
They got 30
each of the 9 got 30 to 100 years each for the accusation of shooting one cop with one bullet from one gun, something 9 people cannot do. Our home, the scene of the crime, was ordered demolished by the city of Philadelphia. That was clearly destroying evidence in a murder trial. But the bottom line is the judge who convicted each of my 9 family members and sentenced each of them to 30 to 100 years publicly stated several days after convicting and sentencing my family that he didn't have the faintest idea who killed James Randall, the cop that was killed on August 8th. Now, you have people, that fraternal order of police, other racists that say, MOVE should never be let out of jail. MOVE killed the cop. Call my family cop killers. But how can they substantiate that when the judge said he didn't have the faintest idea who killed my family? My family's minimum sentence was 30 years. They are 3 years past their minimum. They have seen the parole board 3 times so far. They'll see them again this year, some of them. And each time they've gone before the parole board has denied them parole, saying that they won't admit that they're guilty, won't lie and say that they're guilty, and that they show no remorse. How are you going to show remorse for something you didn't do? MOVE has been telling them for 33 years now that they did not kill James.
Revolution, 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 revolution.
Edwin Malmet was a guest on a local talk station. He was asked by a caller, who killed James Rand? Malmet's response was, I have absolutely no idea. I know what his response was. I know what the question was because I was that caller.
How is Mumia connected to MOVE?
Mumia is a long-time MOVE supporter, a very strong MOVE supporter. In fact, a huge part of the reason that he is unjustly in prison and on death row is his, very accurate coverage of what was happening with MOVE over the years. Mumia is the only journalist that would come to MOVE hearings, to MOVE demonstrations, go up to the prisons and interview MOVE people. He would go and try to interview officials too, So he wasn't one-sided. He wasn't prejudiced. But he is the only one that would accurately, relay what MOVE was saying. Mumia didn't just say MOVE spouts rhetoric. He put out what we were saying, and people could hear clearly that it wasn't rhetoric. It was the truth. And he exposed political corruption, police corruption.
I met MOVE while covering them in Philadelphia. I became exposed to them as opposed to reading about them, and found out that what I read about them had no relationship to the kind of people they were and what they were about. That every published report was tinged with prejudice and hatred. MOVE members have been active and above ground in Philadelphia since 1973. They've been through every jail in Philadelphia. They've been beaten in every police district all over Philadelphia for standing up for their belief, to defend life.
So he was a thorn in the side of this system, and they wanted to get rid of him. And this is the 5th anniversary of the naming of Rue Mumia Abu-Jamal in Saint-Denis.
How important is that, the street name?
It's very important because streets are generally named after people of respect and dignity according to the system, but it generally happens after people are dead. Saint-Denis took a very strong position of naming this street after Mumia while he is still alive, and to send a message to U.S. officials that they understand what's going on here. They understand that Mumia is not a criminal. They have investigated the case, researched it, and what they're saying is we don't even have to get into Mumia's guilt or innocence. The fact is he did not have a fair trial. The judge who sat on the trial stated that he was going to help the prosecutor fry the nigger. That's what he said, and he was overheard saying it, and it was reported, it was put out. Now, obviously, there was not a fair trial. They got as many black people off, the prospective juror list as possible. I mean, they were determined to have a racist jury. I mean, how could Mumia get a fair trial?
My name is Mumia Abu-Jamal. I'm on death row in Pennsylvania. Ex-president of the Association of Black Journalists in Philadelphia. I'm still a continuing revolutionary journalist. I write for anybody who wants me to write for them. And I'm fighting my conviction, fighting the sentence, fighting for my life, and fighting to create revolution in America.
Homeland and hip-hop. To think about the origins of hip-hop in this culture, and also about homeland security, is to see that there are, at the very least, two worlds in America. One of the well-to-do and another of the struggling. For if ever there was the absence of homeland security, it is seen in the gritty roots of hip-hop. For the music arises from a generation that feels, with some justice, that they have been betrayed by those who came before them. That they are, at best, tolerated in schools, feared on the streets, and almost inevitably destined for the hellholes of prison. They grew up hungry, hated, and unloved. And this is the psychic fuel that generates the anger that seems endemic in much of the music and poetry. One senses very little hope above the personal goals of wealth to climb above the pit of poverty. In the broader society, the opposite is true. For here, more than any other place on earth, wealth is so widespread and so bountiful that what passes for the middle class in America could pass for the upper class in most of the rest of the world. Their very opulence and relative wealth makes them insecure, and homeland security is a governmental phrase that is as oxymoronic, as crazy as, say, military intelligence or the U.S. Department of Justice. They're just words that have very little relationship to reality. Now, do you feel safer now? Do you think you will anytime soon? Do you think duct tape and Kleenex and color codes will make you safer? From death row, this is Mumia Abu-Jamal.
We are not going to sit back and watch our family rot in prison. We are not going to do that. We love our family. We believe in justice despite this system, despite legality. We understand that innocent people do not belong in prison. And this is what the May 13th, 85 confrontation was about. On Monday morning, May 13th, the police commissioner announced something to the effect of, "Attention, MOVE, this is America. You have to abide by the rules and laws of society." And, he is said to have announced that he had warrants for 4 people. Myself, one of my sisters, and 2 of my brothers. So now they sent hundreds of cops out there armed with 50 caliber machine guns, M60s, sniper rifles with silencers. What the hell do they need silencers for? What do you need silencers for in a major confrontation like that? You know? What do you need silencers for? When they dropped that bomb, it ignited a fire. And when they saw the fire, they made a decision, a conscious decision, not to put the fire out. You know, they deliberately decided to burn people to death because not only did they decide not to put the fire out, but they also decided that they were going to shoot at us if we tried to come out that house, which they did a number of times.
No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace. No justice, no peace.
I am a survivor of the May 13th, 1985 government bombing and murder of MOVE people. 5 babies and 6 adults were literally burned alive and shot to death that day. And as the sole adult survivor, I was arrested, charged with everything that the government did to me and my family. And I went to trial and was convicted of riots when I was in my home minding my business when we were surrounded by cops who attacked us. But I was convicted of riot and sentenced to 16 months to 7 years in prison. When my 16 months were up, the parole board interviewed me and told me that they would release me if and only if I agreed to have no contact with any MOVE person, nothing to do with any MOVE person.
Which is basically your family.
That's my family. And I didn't understand that I was in prison. I was convicted of being a MOVE person. I thought I was convicted of riot, not of being a MOVE person. But obviously that was the issue because they didn't ask me to agree not to riot, not to go to any demonstrations or anything like that. They were telling me I had to agree not to be a MOVE member. And myself or none of my other sisters and brothers who had that stipulation put on us ever agreed to it. You know, 4 of us did our maximum sentence, and 2 of my sisters and brothers were finally paroled without that stipulation. But yes, I did 7 years in jail.
How do you feel when you see this international solidarity here? It's a bit amazing.
It is amazing, and I have to say that there are not huge demonstrations like this in the United States. I mean, you may get a fairly good turnout at some demonstrations, but overall, people in the United States are extremely apathetic. And outside of being apathetic, another problem is the economic conditions of people in the U.S. I mean, people just can't get past not having jobs, you know, being unemployed, social welfare programs being cut to the bone, you know, trying to pay their rent, put food on the table.
Yeah, but it's strange that people don't rebel or protest because, for instance, millions of people are losing their homes, which they paid for.
Right, and they should be out in the streets demonstrating about that, confronting the government about it. But I've traveled all over the world. You invited me and my sister to Belgium, and we did a tour of Belgium, speaking to people. And everywhere we have gone outside of the U.S., people have a lot more fight in them than Americans. I mean, I can't explain it all. Maybe because there has never been a real war in the United States.
But maybe also because the United States government or the police department are willing to act upon people as they did with MOVE, because MOVE is not an exception. If you know about the history of the working class in the United States, there are a lot of these similar...
That's true. America, the American government and those behind the government are extremely vicious. That's true. but people are suffering even though they're not standing up and taking a stand, you know? So if you're going to be victimized and suffer when you're not taking a stand,
you might
it
as well.
seems to move, you may as well stand up and come at this government and let them know you're not going to just sit back and take it.
Maybe a funny question. Obama doesn't make any difference?
Obama is a politician, and one supporter of ours put it very nicely. He said for the poor people in the black community, Obama is the new crack, something to anesthetize people and make people think that everything is fine, that, you know, things are going well, we're progressing. It's not happening.
Yo, I want to give a big shout out to my people's the crew supporting Mumia and freedom for all political prisoners. His immortal technique. I'm about to be out of here. Check them out when you have time. Peace.
You coming to this shit for Mumia?
Salute.
Hey, if you ready to ride for Mumia, say happy birthday, Mumia. Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Say happy birthday, Mumia.
Happy birthday.
This brother gave us damn near 40 years of his life, most of it on death row. Luckily, he's not on death row, but they're still trying to keep him in prison for life. So don't stand for that shit, because it could be you. You could be Mumia. You are Mumia. Fuck that.
Bring attention to mass incarceration and to Mumia Abu-Jamal's case. Actually, if you want more information, raise your hand. Who's the dude that just